Okay, I watched the movie Skincare last night, halfway on my road trip to California and then halfway at my house before leaving. And I looked up the reviews and everybody hates it. And I'm so confused because to me, I actually really liked it. Then again, I don't like horror, so it was labeled as a thriller, but it's not a scary thriller, which I appreciate. I was very interested in the themes about hustle culture and just like everything like that. Looking at the reviews, it reminds me of a lot of the reviews for Bad Times at the El Royale, where people just had a expectation of something they've seen before. They got something different and then they were upset by that. And also they were upset by the subtlety in the writing. And I freaking love subtlety in the writing. I love cult classics because of this. There's so much that you can understand from a scene without characters needing to expressly say, this is my motivation, this is what I'm doing, this is my backstory. You don't need that information. You can infer. And to me, I felt like I could infer a lot of things. Even the fact that Angel, like a lot of people were like, he just does karaoke in his house and it's just kind of random. But like to me, I saw that as another example of somebody who's going so hard chasing this dream in LA, but really they're lonely. They don't have anyone. When he goes home, he does karaoke and puts on all these lights where you think you'd be having a party, but it's just him. And there is a shot, which I think does two things, because this is at the point where Elizabeth is still dead on that it's Angel, that could paint him as suspicious and creepy, because he's like slowly unhappy and he's kind of like staring off. But I think when you later, because I will say people have a point with Jordan being the obvious choice. I literally wrote him off in the beginning because I thought it was too obvious that he was so sketchy. But then it had to be him at a certain point when he rescued her from that stalker guy who came to her work. It was too convenient. I'm like, oh, you just happened to be there at the perfect right time. I was like, yeah, he's definitely involved somehow. But I mean, he was sketchy from the jump. So I was kind of like, he may be doing something stupid, but he's not probably the main guy because that's too obvious. But I do think people also have a point that the suspects, there's too little of them to not know who the bad guy is pretty quickly, because you don't have many options. But anyway, back to the scene with Angel. Yeah, I felt like that was showing that he really is the innocent guy in this whole situation, but he too is caught up in this like hustle culture where everybody is to be used for your business is everything, and he doesn't really have his own life. And I think Hope doesn't either, which makes her an easy target for, you know, being a victim of things, because she doesn't have close people in her life to lean on. So if you come in and become that person, it'd be very easy. It's crazy to me that people didn't understand Lewis Pullman's character's motivations. Like, guy, he literally says, sometimes you gotta create the problem to fix it. And he clearly doesn't have any talents. That's why he's a life coach. No offense to life coaches, but he's shown to be a pretty talentless person, and that's part of why he can't just do it the normal way. He has to go to these extremes. And I think also he probably gets a thrill out of it. He's, you know, up at 3 a.m. working out, doing drugs, you know, ranting on the internet about humans are they're really just hunters. Like, we all know somebody like that a little bit. We've heard of that. But yeah, he likes it. He gets a kick out of doing things the crazy way. Like, you can see it on his face. And I think, you know, he's definitely narcissistic. You could say the same of Hope, but Hope is not going outside of the legal system, whereas he is definitely willing to do that, which to me gives a little bit more sociopathy vibes, where he's like, people are tools, and he rehearses lines to himself of like how to sound empathetic and how to get people to do what he wants them to do. Like, you know, like, he's clearly not a stable person, and he's taking Hope's mindset of use everyone and everything to get your success to like the evil extreme of it, you know. And I felt like that's, you know, why he's a great bad guy, because he's a foil to her. Although I do agree, a little too obvious. really, like, we knew it was never going to be Angel because she thought it was him from the start, you know what I mean? It's just too obvious. Also, I expected Colleen to come back. I recognized the actor and I was like, oh, she could be the bad guy, because maybe she's jealous that she went out with Jordan that one time and that's the motivation, and I thought she was going to come back and she never does, which is crazy. Oh yeah, this is something, because obviously Elizabeth says that Jordan was in love with her since he met her that one time, and that's why he was doing all this crazy stuff. She's just believing the sauce he told her. He completely made up being in love with her because he was pivoting from his plan. And to me, I don't think he loves anyone. I think people are tools to him. And I'd also, like, I mean, think about it. He's like, I'll pay you in life coaching lessons. She's always trying to pay people in her products. They're very similar, but also very different. To me, one of the things that really tipped me off at first for him, which nobody's talking about, and obviously Hope still believes that he did see her at this photo shoot. I don't think it ever happened. I don't think it ever happened. As soon as he said that, I was like, that would be an easy thing to lie about. You know what I mean? She's a public figure. It's probably common knowledge. You could Google search and figure out what photo shoot she was a part of, and you could easily just say you were there, but in a position that she would never notice anyway. You know, like, oh, you just probably don't remember me, because then that establishes even more of a connection right there. Because it's like, oh, well, we've met before, you just don't remember. Oh, okay. You know, it just gives them more of an excuse to be interested in you without it seeming suspicious. Like, I was immediately just like, I could do that. I was just like, I could easily have said something. Like, I could lie like that so easy because that's an easy lie to do. Not that I would actually do it, but like, as soon as he said that, I was like, he could easily be making that up. That would be an easy lie to make. So, you know, the movie never says that he was explicitly lying about that, but I think he was. I mean, he's lying about literally everything else. He could have a completely different name and I wouldn't be shocked. You know what I mean? Like, his life is a lie. Everything is a lie. Even his, you know, his looks, he's like trying to fabricate an image that he wants to come across as, and he's very much about the outside, even though he's supposed to be this spiritual life coach guy, whatever. It's all a mask. And I don't know, I just think, I'm like, you can say that definitely some things were not utilized to the extent that they could have been. I definitely think, like, the ending, Hope is so stupid for not going to the cops. Like, she recognizes that Jordan was the one who slashes her tires, and she doesn't tell anybody, even though this is clearly a very dangerous situation. And she would probably, like, she just incriminates herself by not going to the police, because then any of her actions can be misconstrued as her being the perpetrator and being a creep. But yeah, I think the point of it was very clear to me. Like, I finished it and I was like, you know what? I like this. I like this movie because it clearly was saying the message of, like, these people are so consumed by success that they aren't a person. I mean, she says in the beginning that, like, her business is her. There is no difference. It's kind of the same with Jordan, where, like, he does not have his identity is completely malleable to whatever will give him success. He doesn't know who he is outside of that. He doesn't really have a security in that way. And she's kind of the same, you know, without her business, who is she? Who knows? And you know, everybody that these people meet is a tool for them to use or sacrifice to get their goals done. I mean, even think about Armin, who was weird for saying, like, don't tell anyone about this. Like, I was kind of sus on him at that moment, but then he did turn out, like, he was clearly had a little crush on her, which still means he was still another person in the movie using someone for a purpose. Like, he wasn't just, like, trying to be a good guy. He did want something out of her. Everyone in this movie wants something from someone else. No one just talks to someone for fun, for free, you know. All of people's friends are out to get something. But he was at least the most genuine with it, where it wasn't like he was being malicious about it, like Castle, Nathan Fillion's character. I always just call him Castle. But yeah, Nathan Fillion, his character was obviously malicious with it, where Armin wasn't. But it was still, you know, you could categorize it. But he, even because he actually does care for her, is sacrificed for her goals ultimately, because he dies trying to help her. So Also, just what an idiot. I mean, no offense to this man, but like, I was like, dude, are you in the mafia or something? Why is your first thought, I'm gonna take this guy out myself, like, and don't tell anybody? Like, that makes me think you got a shady past or something. But I knew he was gonna die when he was driving home and like so disoriented. I'm like, oh, he dead. Which to me, I'm like, Hope, you got a pretty good thing going right now, okay? Because he's dead. We blame it all on him. You're scot-free. Although we do want Jordan to go to jail, so. But yeah, to me, Jordan's very sociopath vibes, because it's easy for him to lie. He doesn't even hesitate, doesn't really, the only thing that gets him flustered is an ego rejection, which happens from Angel, someone that he doesn't feel is as weak to manipulate as Hope is, which is why he calls her pathetic, because he's probably getting an ego boost from the fact that he can manipulate her so much. You know, he picked her as a victim because he thought he was better than her and he could do it. Which, as someone who clearly doesn't have very many talents and is using these illegal means to make up for that, probably feels pretty nice. He's too deep in the sauce, you know what I mean? Very performative. I don't get how people don't understand the movie. I definitely think could have been done better, but you can understand it, bro.